What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 286. We got Kamaru Usman going against Leon Edwards 3.
I need all the wins, yeah. All that and all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we're back with another full card breakdown and prediction video. This week, breaking down a 15-fight card. So we have a lot to talk about. A very good pay-per-view card here. The main event, really looking forward to it. We have Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards. They're 1-1. We're going to see who can win this third matchup here. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to potential fight of the year with Rafael Fiziev going against Justin Gaethje. And I think there's a lot of great fights on these prelims as well. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Before we get started, a couple things I do want to mention. Now is still a great time to sign up on DFSbythenumbers.com. That most popular option is that $10 betting option, $10 a month. With that, you get access to all the UFC stats you see on my Friday and Saturday shows. You get first notice on all my bets. I do have about 5 right now. My betting article, this comes out on Friday. I break down all of my bets. I give my Hail Mary parlay, my prelim parlay, and then my main card parlay, and then talk about any leans as well. Access to Discord. I'm going to be sharpening up the Discord, adding some new things to the Discord, probably in this week off coming up. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but I was not able to get a lot done in this 8-week stretch. So doing things coming to Discord there. Also, bet notifications to Discord as well. And then this is probably the biggest thing here, the full card breakdown and best bet article. It's about a 16, 17, sometimes 18, probably 18 pages this week for a 15-fight card. I break down the fight. I give my prediction, the round, the method, the confidence rating, the best bet for each and every fight. And then I highlight those best bets all at the end. And then I put all my confidence ratings in order. So make sure you check that out, the $10 betting tier. Also, if you guys have not, be sure to buy some merch, $25 for a t-shirt, free shipping on me for anybody in the U.S. You can see it right here. I did not have anybody to model the shirt, so I had to get Bob to get it on. He looks good. He looks good. But yeah, check that out. Go get you a shirt. $25 there, medium, large, extra large, XXL, and XXXL. All right. This is a pay-per-view card, so we're going to be bringing back the Significant Strike contest. To enter said contest, first, leave a like on the video. Second, subscribe to the channel if you are not already. And then third, comment down how many Significant Strikes you think that Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards are going to combine for. $25 to first. If there's a tie, the tiebreaker does go to the person that commented first. So be sure to comment down your strike totals there. And yeah, other than that, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. I'm going live Friday, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern time for these, for my final thoughts there. We'll talk some weigh-ins as well, some DraftKings, some betting. And then I'll also be going live 1 hour prior to the prelims. The prelims start at 1 Eastern. Going to be going live at 12 Eastern for best bet as well. But yeah, looking forward to this card, looking forward to keep it rolling. Last week was not a good week in terms of the predictions, but was able to come out on the right side from a betting perspective. So on a 3-event winning streak from a betting perspective, looking to keep it rolling here. It's been a really good year thus far. A profitable January, profitable February, and then so far 2-0 in terms of winning and losing cards in March. So we're looking to keep it rolling here, and we're going to start with this fight on UFC 286. We have Juliana Miller going against Veronica Macedo-Hardy. We will start with Juliana Miller. So, Juliana Miller, she is 26 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. She is 3-1 and 3-1 in her only 4 professional fights. Veronica Hardy, she is 27 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach, 6-4 and 1-4 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. Like we always do, we see that Juliana Miller is a favorite. Opened up -200, currently -450. And then Veronica Hardy opened up +170. She is currently +350. So it's been a while since we have seen Veronica Hardy, former known as Veronica Macedo. We have not seen her in 2 years, in 11 months. And yeah, it was a while ago. And it was against Bay Malecki, where she went out there, she was very undersized, and she looked awful. She lost to Bay Malecki, just a terrible look. And, you know, honestly, her UFC run was bad. She lost to Ashley Evans-Smith. This was 6 years ago at this point, where Ashley Evans-Smith just dominated her, TKO'd her, got her out of there. And then she lost to Andrea Lee by decision in a fight where Andrea Lee was very close to getting her out of there multiple times, had some submission attempts, had really good ground and pound, but ultimately lost to Andrea Lee. She loses to Jillian Robertson by rear naked choke in that fight as well. And then this is a weird one where she all of a sudden just beats Polyana Viana first round armbar just out of nowhere. And then, like I said, lost to Bay Maleke. So she's 1-4 in her last 5 fights. She has not fought in 3 years. And I don't know what to think of that. I mean, it could be a good thing that she has not fought in 3 years, or it could be a bad thing. Like, has she been training over these 3 years? Has she dealt with injuries? Is she showing up here for a paycheck? Like, I don't know. What has she been doing over this 3-year layoff? Because the last time we did see her fight, I mean, she was 24 years old. So in theory, if she did take these 3 years off, to make improvements, we could see a better version of Veronica Hardy here. So it's a fight where I don't want to lay minus 450 on Juliana Miller, but I was impressed with Miller in her last fight, and really her last fight only. Like, I went back and watched her fights on The Ultimate Fighter, went back and watched some of her fights prior to The Ultimate Fighter, and yeah, not impressed at all. I don't think she has the best wrestling. I don't think she has the best striking. I think she's very hittable on the feet. But in that last fight, she made a ton of improvements, against Brogan Walker, who Brogan Walker is a solid fighter. She's fought really good competition, and she went out there and just destroyed Brogan Walker. I mean, she was able to take her down. Her wrestling looked a lot better, and then she was able to get her out of there with punches, TKO in the 3rd round. So I think Miller is making improvements. I see those improvements, whereas Hardy, she, from what I saw, I mean, it was awful, but she could be making improvements, but I've not seen those improvements yet. So I got to go with the more well-known fighter at this point. That is Juliana Miller, and I think if she can build off of that Walker performance, keep making those improvements, I think she can be decent, and especially win this fight. So I like Juliana Miller here. I like her to finish this fight. I don't think, Hardy has good striking, but she's probably going to have the striking advantage. I think Miller's going to get this fight down to the mat, and when she does, she's nasty. I think a TKO submission could be likely, but I'm going to say 2nd round TKO for Juliana Miller. She needs to get the fight down to the mat, and she did show in her last fight that she did make some improvements in that wrestling. So Miller for the win. Miller, 2nd round TKO. Moving on, we got a fun fight here. Ludovit Klein going against Jai Herbert. We will start with Ludovit Klein here. So Ludovit Klein, 28 years old, 5'7" with a 72-inch reach, 19-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jai Herbert, 34 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach, 12-4 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Some money's coming in on Ludovit Klein. It looks like he opened at minus 130, currently minus 190, and then Jai Herbert opened up plus 110, currently plus 165. So yeah, I had a lot of really high hopes for Ludovit Klein before he came into the UFC. I was really impressed with the guy. Like, I remember watching tape on him for the first time, Ludovit, and just watched like 5 fights in a row where he landed a head kick knockout, and I was like, okay, I'm picking this guy to come into the UFC and win by head kick knockout. And guess what happened? He went out there and head kicked Shane Young, hurt him bad, finished him with punches. So yeah, I liked what I saw from Klein, and then he just started like dropping the ball, as a big favorite as well. He went out there against Michael Trezano. He was a big favorite in that match. I want to say he was like minus 300 or something, and went out there, lost to Michael Trezano. I personally scored it for him, but Trezano probably won that fight. And then he went against Nate Landwehr as a big favorite as well. And then he lost to Nate Landwehr as well. So I'm like, man, is Klein just not that good? And then he goes out there, beats Devontae Smith, a kind of a lackluster performance, but still able to beat him nonetheless. And then goes out there and beats Mason Jones, who I was very high on Mason Jones. A lot of people were very high on Mason Jones. He goes out there and beats him. So that was great to see. So yeah, I think Klein's starting to get it back together here. Those 2 losses against Nate Landwehr, Trezano, they're not horrible losses, but I guess I just had higher expectations for the guy. This is a fight where, Jai Herbert, I think he's solid. I think he's a really good striker. He's huge for the division. I mean, the guy's 6'1" at 155 pounds. He's going to have both the height and reach advantage in this matchup. Klein's definitely going to be the smaller guy. Like, Klein's a guy that has fought at featherweight before. So Herbert's going to be bigger, but the thing I don't like about Herbert is a couple things, but mostly the chin and the striking defense. The striking defense currently sitting at 42% for Jai Herbert. That's not good. And then what else is not good is the fact that I don't think he can take a punch that well. So Ludovit Klein, he's going to be able to land. He's going to be able to land a lot. And Klein has power, both in his hands and with that head kick as well. So I do see Klein finding the knockout. But yeah, Herbert's dangerous in his own right. And I also could see Klein going out there and getting takedowns. Herbert, I don't think he has the best takedown defense. I don't think he has the best ground game as well. His takedown defense sits at 55%. So if Klein does not like how it's going on the feet, he can absolutely go for takedowns. He's a good wrestler. He's a solid grappler as well. So I just think Klein has a lot more ways to win this fight. But in terms of a prediction and a method, I'm going to take Klein to win this fight by second round knockout. I think he touches the chin of Jai Herbert at some point in this fight. But yeah, this fight should be a very fun fight for how low it is down on the card. Moving on to the 1-800-GAMBLER fight of the week, a fight that probably should not be bet on. We got Joanne Wood going against Luana Carolina. We got Joanne Wood, who is 37 years old, 5'6", with a 65.5-inch reach, 15-8 and 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Luana Carolina, 29 years old, 5'6", with a 69-inch reach, 8-3 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. So this is a fight where Joanne Wood should win this fight all day, every day. It shouldn't even be close. I mean, take a look at Wood's last losses. Just the names, right? Alexa Grasso, champion. Tyler Santos, arguably could have been champion because I thought she beat Valentina. Laura Murphy fought for a title. Jennifer Maia fought for a title. Caitlin Chukagan fought for a title. So that's who she's losing to, right? But the thing with Wood and why I can't be confident in her at all is because it looks like she doesn't want to be there. It really doesn't. I was kind of surprised she didn't retire after that Santos fight. There were rumors that she was going to probably retire after that Santos fight. She looked awful in that matchup, dropped twice by Santos and finished shortly after. I thought she was going to retire there. And then she fights Grasso in what I was, pretty confident that was going to be her retirement fight. She loses to Grasso by first round submission. She didn't retire there, so I'm pretty sure this is probably going to be her retirement fight. I mean, she's 37 years old at this point, and she just looks like she doesn't want to fight. She's looked atrocious, and I know she's fighting really good fighters. Grasso, like I said, Grasso, Santos, but just the way she looks, it scares the crap out of me in terms of having any confidence on her whatsoever. With all that said, though, how could you pick Luana Carolina? I mean, this is a great matchup for Wood, just due to the fact that Carolina is not going to take down Joanne Wood. Carolina has landed 0 takedowns in the UFC. This fight is going to take place on the feet, and yes, Carolina is going to have a height and reach advantage. She's going to be, actually, it says they're the same height there, which is got to be a lie because Carolina is pretty big for the division. Yeah, it says they're both 5'6", which I don't buy it. I think Carolina's bigger, but she is going to have that reach advantage. She's going to have a decent reach advantage there. She's very long, but yeah, I mean, this should be Joanne Wood. Joanne Wood's going to have the volume advantage here. What I like about Wood has always been that volume, landing almost 7 significant strikes per minute. We saw what Molly McCann did to Luana Carolina. This should be Wood all day if she wants to be here. I mean, if she wants to fight, if she's taking this camp serious and this fight serious, there's no reason she should lose this fight. There's absolutely no excuse for losing this fight against Luana Carolina. So, do I have confidence in Wood? No. But she better win this fight, man. But yeah, give me Joanne Wood. Wood by decision. I will not be betting this fight. I will not be laying minus 190 on Joanne Wood because, quite frankly, she's looked atrocious as of late. But give me Wood by decision. All right. Moving on to a fun fight here. We got Jake Hadley going against Malcolm Gordon. We got Hadley, 26 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach, 9-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Malcolm Gordon, 32 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, 14-6 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Jake Hadley is a big favorite. One of the biggest favorites on the card, on a card filled with a bunch of big favorites. We got Jake Hadley open at minus 250, currently minus 360. Malcolm Gordon opened up plus 210, currently plus 295. So interesting matchup here. I have never been a fan of Malcolm Gordon. I always, crap on the guy. I mean, the chin is, it's not good. Pound for pound, and I'm not being mean, pound for pound, I think Malcolm Gordon has the worst durability in the UFC. It's bad. Malcolm Gordon has 6 losses, all of them coming inside the distance at flyweight. It's just something you don't see. You don't typically see guys at flyweight getting knocked out all the time. You don't see guys at flyweight getting hurt with with pretty much anything that lands. So, I don't think Malcolm Gordon's the most durable guy. I actually think he's the least durable guy in the UFC. But with that said, I think he's a good fighter. I think Malcolm Gordon is a very good fighter. I was actually really impressed with him outside the UFC. He's a black belt in BJJ, has solid wrestling, and on the feet, he has power in his own right. It's just the thing with Malcolm Gordon is he gets hurt in every fight. I remember taping him before he came to the UFC. I didn't see a fight where he didn't get hurt. I mean, even in fights he's winning, he is wobbling all over the place. I mean, this guy, he doesn't have durability, and that's important. So, but I mean, I think he could have some success here. Like for Jake Hadley, in terms of like laying this price on him, there are some concerns I have. Like that Nascimento fight, that's a big concern for me because Hadley was taken down, and by the way, he's a big favorite in the matchup. He was taken down a couple times, 2 or 3 times, and he was not able to work his way back up. Nascimento was able to control Jake Hadley for almost 10 minutes in that fight. And I could see a scenario where Malcolm Gordon is able to take down Jake Hadley, who, by the way, Jake Hadley thus far has a 37% takedown defense, and Malcolm Gordon might be able to win minutes. Like, Malcolm Gordon's a good fighter. It's just he doesn't have durability at all, like none. Like, durability's on 0 for Malcolm Gordon, and that's a problem. So, I like Hadley to win this fight, obviously. He's a big favorite. I think he gets it done. I think he can knock out Malcolm Gordon, just because I think like a hot shower or like a gust of wind can knock out Malcolm Gordon. And so I think Hadley can definitely do that. I also think Hadley can submit Malcolm Gordon. Malcolm Gordon's a black belt, but he's been submitted twice in his career. Malcolm Gordon, a 9%, you heard that right, a 9% takedown defense. So yeah, if Hadley wants to knock this guy out, I think he does it. If he wants to submit Malcolm Gordon, I think he does it. I think he gives Malcolm Gordon his 7th finish loss. Malcolm Gordon has never lost a decision, and I don't think that changes here. Give me Jake Hadley. I'll say sub. I'll say he does sub Malcolm Gordon, but if he wants to knock him out, I think he can there. So give me Jake Hadley for the, I'll say, second round submission win. All right, moving on, we have Christian Leroy Duncan going against Dusko Todorovic. We will start with Christian Leroy Duncan. 27 years old, 6'2", 7-0, and obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Dusko Todorovic, 28 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach, 12-3, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Yeah, there's not a lot of closely lined fights on this card, but this is one of the more closely lined fights. Actually, not anymore. It looks like money's coming in on Duncan. So Duncan was minus 165. He's currently minus 205. Dusko Todorovic opened up plus 145. He's currently plus 175. So yes, the money is coming in on Christian Leroy Duncan. This is a matchup where I'm not a big fan of Dusko Todorovic, but I feel like he could potentially have some success here. I mean, the problem with Dusko is there's a couple things. The first thing is, he's a black belt in BJJ for what it's worth. His ground game is very good. Like, if he can get on top of guys, like, he is a savage on top. He really is. We saw what he did to Quan Townsend, who obviously is not UFC caliber and not even close to it, really. We saw what he did to Maki Patola when he got on top, right? So when he gets on top, he's very good. He has a really good ground and pound, really good submission game. The problem with Dusko Todorovic, though, is he doesn't have good wrestling. Like, he has a 12% takedown accuracy, which is not good. So, although I have seen Christian Leroy Duncan taken down a lot more than I really want to in terms of, this price tag on him, the thing about Duncan is he is able to stay safe on the mat, and he is able to work his way back up. So, Dusko's probably going to go out there and look to get this fight down to the mat. On the feet, I don't think he's going to want to strike with somebody as dangerous as Duncan. Like, Duncan has a lot of power. I saw him land this flying knee that just almost killed somebody. And Dusko doesn't have a great chin. He really doesn't. And he doesn't have great striking defense. He's one of those guys where the hands are completely down. His chin's right up in the air. And if he does go out there and strike with Duncan, there's a really good chance he gets knocked out. So I think Dusko's going to try to make this dirty, push him against the cage, mix in takedowns, and maybe he does it. Maybe he does get some takedowns. It's just I think Duncan's good enough to get back up and at some point find the chin of Dusko Todorovic that is going to be right there for the taking because Dusko has no striking defense to speak of. So I like Duncan here. I like Duncan to win by second round knockout. I think Duncan's good. He's only 27 years old. He's fought some really good competition outside the UFC. And I think he goes out there and finishes Dusko Todorovic in the second round. Like Todorovic, I don't think he's terrible. I'm not a big fan of him per se, but I mean, look at the wins. They're probably some of the worst wins you'll ever see in the UFC. Like Jordan Wright, terrible win. Maki Pitolo, I like Maki Pitolo, but that's a terrible win. And then Taquan Townsend, it doesn't get any worse than that. And then Teddy Ash on the Contender Series. Just nothing really impressive here. If Dusko does win this fight, it's going to be his best win in the UFC by a mile. It's not even close. But yeah, give me a Christian Leroy Duncan to get the win done, to get it done, and I'll take him to win by second round KO. Moving on, this is probably my favorite fight on these prelims. I love this fight. I think this fight is going to be fun. I like both of these guys. I cannot wait for this fight. I think this has... If Justin Gaethje, Rafael Fiziev was not on the card, I think I would pick this for fight of the night. But Fiziev Gaethje is on the card, and we will talk about that very soon. But we have Lerone Murphy going against Gabriel Santos. We have Murphy, 31 years old, 5'9", with a 73.5-inch reach, 11-0-1. And 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. Gabriel Santos, 26 years old, 5'9", with a 71.5-inch reach, 10-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So weird shenanigans going on with this line. So we had Lerone Murphy open up just a massive favorite on BetOnline Sportsbook. Opened up -275 and is currently -160. Gabriel Santos opened up as a crazy dog. He opened up around +235, and he's currently +140. So, not sure what they were really doing with that line, but that was just a terrible opener there, and it got adjusted accordingly. I think the line where it's at is about right here. So, I went into tape not knowing much about Santos. I think I watched him fight before against Elvis Brenner, because I had to research Elvis Brenner for his fight with Tuhugov, right? And I was really impressed with Gabriel Santos. I think he's still a little green. He's 26 years old. He's a little green, but I like this guy a lot. He kind of reminds me of like a Charles Oliveira type, where he's just dangerous everywhere. Like, he's an incredible grappler. He's a brown belt in BJJ. His ground game's phenomenal, but he has solid striking as well, and he's been using that striking lately to knock guys out. I mean, this guy has a ton of power on the feet. So he's dangerous not only on the mat, I think that's his bread and butter down there, but on the feet as well. So, and then he just brings this crazy style, this crazy pace. He wants to get into these wars, and he thrives in those wars as well. So yeah, I think Santos, 26 years old, I think he has some serious upside in the UFC. It's just, there's a lot of things going against him in this matchup. So the first thing, this is a short notice matchup here against Lerone Murphy. He's taken this fight on about a week's notice. I don't like that. He's making a long flight from Brazil to London. I don't like that. And then, like I said, he's still a little bit green. He's very hittable, very, very hittable. Striking defense is very questionable for Santos, and I kind of question the durability as well, because he's been hurt a lot. And he's one of those guys where you can hurt him, he'll be right there till the very end, but he's a dog. But man, the striking defense, the chin is a little bit iffy for me. And then on top of that, in terms of the ground game, he is willing to give up position. He is willing to flop to his back at times. He is willing to lose minutes on his back at times. So I don't like that. But he's young. I think he's been making improvements. And like I said, I think he has a solid ceiling. It's just this matchup's tough for him against Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy has a ton of power, but I mean, what kind of concerns me is the takedown defense. It's sitting at like 36% for Lerone Murphy, so the takedown defense is not good. It's just Santos, he doesn't have the best wrestling. But yeah, if Santos gets down Murphy, there could be some serious problems. But yeah, I think this fight does primarily play out on the feet, though. I think these guys are going to stand and bang, and when they do, both guys I think have power, but I'm leaning towards Murphy to get that knockout win here. I think he's going to hurt Santos multiple times. I think he might even drop him a couple times, but I think eventually he's going to get him out of there. Like, Murphy has serious power. Just ask Makwan Amirkhani, who got knocked out and didn't wake up for like 20 minutes. I mean, that was a bad knockout. And then also ask Ricardo Ramos how hard Murphy hits. Murphy was able to take down Ramos, right? And the ground and pound he landed, I mean, those elbows, he knocked out Ramos twice in that fight. Like, he was on top, he knocked him out, he woke back up, and then he knocked him out again, ground and pound. Like, this guy's power is insane, and with how hittable Santos is, with him, willing to be on his back, I think Murphy's going to either get a TKO here or a knockout at some point in this fight. But up until then, I think Santos is going to have success, but I think at some point Murphy's going to find that big shot and put him out. Love this fight. I love both these guys, but I'm going to take Lerone Murphy for the second round knockout win. Should be an incredible fight here. I cannot wait for it. All right, moving on, we have Muhammad Mokaev going against Jafel Filho. We will start with Mokaev, who is 22 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach, 8-0 and 1 no contest in his career, and then in his last 5 fights, he has 4-0 in that 1 no contest. Jafel Filho, he is 29 years old, 5'7" with a 68.5-inch reach, 14-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So biggest favorite here on the card for Muhammad Mokaev. Opened up minus 800, still minus 800, and then Filho opened up plus 550, still plus 550. So I've seen a lot of people talking about it. Muhammad Mokaev apparently is coming in here with like some like injury, like maybe a shoulder injury or something. I guess he's like pushing off surgery to fight in this fight. So right off the bat, it's like minus 800. You know, that kind of scares me. But and then on top of that, like I see the line, right? And I go to watch Filho. I'm thinking like Filho's probably some bum, and he's no bum at all. Filho's pretty solid. He got that knockout win on the Contender Series. He's a pretty good grappler in his own right, but you know, he can be taken down. He can give up position, and that's going to be a problem here. I mean, this should be Mokaev. I think they're continuing to build up a very young Mokaev. I think they're being very careful with this guy in terms of who they match him up with. And yeah, I kind of feel bad for Filho. Like, Filho got that awesome knockout win on the Contender Series, like knocked the dude out cold. And then they're kind of, you know, building up Mokaev with Filho there. So, it's got to be Mokaev here, although the shoulder concerns do scare me a little bit, but I won't be betting this fight. Mokaev should get takedowns here. He should get control here. I don't know if he submits Filho. Filho has been sub before, back in like 2017, so it was a while ago, so he was like 23 at the time. But Filho seems to be a good grappler, so I think he probably survives here. I'm going to take Muhammad Mokaev to win this fight by decision, but I will not be laying like the minus 800 price tag on him, that's for sure. All right, moving on. We have a very fun fight here, a lightweight fight. Let me double check. It is a lightweight fight, right? Yeah, it's a lightweight fight. I don't know why I put welterweight. Fixing it right on the screen for you guys there. Yeah, lightweight fight. Sam Patterson, Yanal Ashmoz. So we will start with Sam Patterson, 26 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach, 10-1-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Yanal Ashmoz, he is 27 years old, 5'9", 6-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Sam Patterson, big favorite, like most of these fighters on this card. Opened up as a minus 250 favorite, currently minus 260. Ashmoz opened up as a won't even load, but either way, he's currently sitting at plus 220 here. So I think there's going to be a great opportunity to fade Sam Patterson in the very near future. Like, watching tape on the guy, there was one thing I was very impressed with, and that one thing I think wins him the fight here. And then there was like a whole list of things I was not impressed with. Like, Sam Patterson, oh my goodness, this guy's hittable. Oh my gosh. Like, his striking defense is horrendous. He's one of those big, tall guys. Like, in this fight, he's going to have like a 6-inch height advantage. I think it could be even more than that, to be honest. Like Ashmoz, he's a very small dude. So he's one of those big guys that just has terrible striking defense. It is bad. He can be, like, I was watching one of his fights a while ago. It was his only loss in his career. And I was thinking to myself watching the fight, I'm like, somebody's going to knock this guy out at some point. And then, what do you know, like a couple seconds later, the dude just clips Patterson, puts him out. The striking defense is a big issue. So that's one thing I don't like about Patterson. Another thing I don't like about Patterson is his takedown defense is horrendous. You know, guys can take him down, no problem. And he's comfortable being on his back, and that's because he's a great grappler. So, striking defense, awful. Takedown defense, awful. He can lose minutes, awful. But what he does very well, very, very well, and what impressed me a ton is that submission game. I mean, this guy is an incredible grappler. Multiple submissions on his record. And I feel like he's probably going to be able to sub this Ashmoz guy. Ashmoz, there's not a ton of tape out there on him, but he does throw very hard on the feet. So maybe he's able to catch Patterson, and he can go for takedowns. So he can probably take down Patterson. It's just, at some point, I do see Patterson finding that sub. I think he's going to have multiple opportunities across 15 minutes to find that submission win here. Ashmoz has put himself in a pretty bad spots. And like I said, Patterson, a lot of red flags about him, but that grappling is that one thing that I think is going to win him this fight. Going forward, I will be looking to fade the crap out of this guy. But I think he subs Ashmoz here. I'm going to say second round submission for Patterson. I think he might even lose like a lot of minutes of this fight. Like I can see Ashmoz going for takedowns. I can see Ashmoz maybe even hurting Patterson at some point. But I think at some point, Patterson's going to be able to get the takedown in his own right. He's going to be able to take the back. He's going to be able to find something off of his back. He's going to be able to find something standing. Just a very opportunistic submission grappler in Patterson. I really like the sub game. So for that reason, I will go Patterson. I'm going to go Patterson by submission. You won't see me laying that minus 260 on this guy, but in terms of a pick, I am going to pick him, and I think he does submit Yanal Ashmoz at some point in this fight. I'll say second round. All right, moving on to another lightweight fight. We got Omar Morales going against Chris Duncan, the second of the two Chris Duncans on the card. We got Omar Morales, 37 years old, 5'11", with a 74-inch reach, 11-3 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Chris Duncan, he is 29 years old, 5'10", with a 71.5-inch reach, 9-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. This is probably my second least favorite fight on the card, right behind that Luana Carolina fight that I could care less about. But yeah, this is a fight that I'm just not looking forward to. I don't think either of these guys are good at all. It's a close line. It's actually the closest line fight on the card. On a card with, I think there's only like 3 favorites at this point that are less than minus 200, and this is one of them with Omar Morales here. So Omar Morales, he did open up as like a minus 125 favorite. He's minus 120 now. Chris Duncan opened up plus 105. He's currently plus 100. Yeah, I don't think either of these guys are that great. Like Omar Morales, he's 37 years old now. He's been bouncing back and forth between featherweight and lightweight. So he's getting up there in age. And he's coming off of back-to-back losses where he got ran through by Jonathan Pierce. He got knocked out by Uros Medic. And I don't know. I mean, this is a guy that came into the UFC like really late in his career. And he just looks, and he's never really impressed me. But, nowadays, he's really looking pretty awful. He just throws nothing on the feet. He's a guy that looks like he throws hard and has power, but only has 1 knockdown in the UFC to show for it. He has no knockouts in the UFC, which I don't like that as well. Like, he was not even able to knock out that one dude who always gets knocked out. Duncan Ma, wasn't even able to knock him out. He knocked him down, though. Apparently, he's a black belt in BJJ, but he doesn't use it. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons I don't like Omar Morales. Doesn't throw anything, has not shown power at the UFC level, has a BJJ black belt, but doesn't use it. So, and then on the flip side, you got Chris Duncan, who, my goodness, Chris Duncan has the worst striking defense I've ever seen in my life. It is so bad. It reminds me of, who was that guy that fought Sam Alvey? Marcin Prachnio. So remember when Alvey knocked down Prachnio? Prachnio gets back up, walks forward with his hands completely down against Sam Alvey, and then Alvey just completely knocks him out again. His strike defense is like that, but like that all the time. Chris Duncan walks forward, plots forward with his hands completely down, and he gets dropped a lot. I will say he's a tough dude. He's able to get dropped and come back, and he's done that a couple times. Like on the Contender Series, he got flatlined in the first round, gets back up, and gets a knockout in his own right. So the striking defense is horrible, though. I think like on paper, it's like 42%. It's bad. But he has shown that toughness. He has shown power. I think he's the harder hitter in this matchup. This fight is a mess. I think these guys are going to stand and strike. I think somebody's probably getting knocked out here. I'm going to take the slight dog here in Chris Duncan and knock out Omar Morales. I like the fact that Duncan's 8 years younger. I like the fact that, yes, he can be hurt, he can be knocked down, but he can come right back. And I don't like the fact that Morales has not really shown finishing ability at this UFC level, and he's only getting older. So give me Chris Duncan here. I know a lot of people are on Omar Morales, like a lot of people are. And I get it, Chris Duncan's not good, but I don't think Omar Morales is that good as well. So I'm going to take Chris Duncan for the win. I'm going to take Chris Duncan to win by second round knockout. Honestly, could care less about this fight. It should be fun, I guess, but man, in terms of making a pick, I don't even know. I mean, it's a tough fight to call, but give me Duncan for the win. All right, Next, we have, this is the featured prelim. We got Jack Shore going against Makwan Amirkhani. We will start with Jack Shore, who is 28 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, 16-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Makwan Amirkhani, 34 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach, 17-8 and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Jack Shore, big favorite. I think his second biggest favorite on the entire card. Opened up minus 350, currently minus 500. Makwan opened up plus 285, currently plus 375. So Jack Shore is coming up a weight class from bantamweight to featherweight after his first loss. I mean, the guy started out 16-0 and then lost to Ricky Simón his last time out. And now he's going to featherweight, which should be a good move for him here. He's going to be a little bit undersized in this matchup and probably in the weight class in general. But yeah, I mean, this is a matchup where, I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, this fight plays out one of two ways. Either Makwan Amirkhani submits Jack Shore in the first round or Makwan loses the fight. I mean, there's no other way around it. Makwan has some of the worst cardio you'll ever see in the UFC. He's a really good one-round fighter. Like, if UFC fights were one round, this guy could potentially be like up in the top in the division. But, you know, fights are 3 rounds and he can only fight 1 round. Like, there's some fights, though, where his cardio looks okay, but it's more often than not, it's one and done for Makwan Amirkhani. If he does not get you out of there early, he's going to gas out, and he's going to either lose a decision or get finished. So Jack Shore, I mean, just mind your P's and Q's in round 1. You know, Makwan probably does take down Jack Shore here and there, but yeah, Jack Shore is really tough to take down at bantamweight, but maybe Makwan can get him down here early on. Maybe Makwan even wins the first round. But I can't pick Makwan here because he can't fight in the second or third. So how can you pick a guy that can't win a second or third round, especially against Jack Shore? So yeah, Jack Shore should be the better striker, and it's not even close. Jack Shore can probably even mix in takedowns in his own right later in the fight. And then Jack Shore, like I said, has really good grappling and really good takedown defense as well. So yeah, a lot of reasons to like Jack Shore. There's a reason he's a big favorite. Makwan is literally round 1 sub or bust. And just him submitting Jack Shore in the first round, it would just kind of shock me, to be honest. So I got to absolutely pick Jack Shore. I'm going to pick Jack Shore to win by third round. I'll say third round submission for Jack Shore. I think Makwan's going to gas out. I think Jack Shore is going to either hurt him, take him down, and I think he's going to submit a gassed out Makwan Amirkhani in that third round. So give me Jack Shore for the submission win. Main card time. Pretty good main card. Really like the main event, the co-main event. I like this main card opener as well. Don't hate the Gunnar Nelson fight. Don't hate the Casey O'Neill fight. But yeah, really good fight here. Marvin Vettori going against Roman Dolidze. We got Marvin Vettori, 29 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach, 18-5-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Roman Dolidze, 34 years old, 6'2" with a 76-inch reach, 12-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Roman Dolidze, I think he might be a fan of the channel. I mean, I got a nice DM from Roman Dolidze last time out when he fought Jack Hermanson. Not going to go into specifics there, but yeah, so that was cool getting a DM from Roman Dolidze. This is a weird fight. We have Marvin Vettori as a pretty big favorite, like a really big favorite here. Marvin Vettori opened up minus 275, currently minus 265. Dolidze opened up plus 235, currently plus 225. And that shocks me. Not because I think it's a bad matchup for Vettori. I think it's a really good matchup and a matchup he should absolutely win. It's just people really like Roman Dolidze, like really like him. And a lot of people are picking him here as well. And I kind of want to pick Roman Dolidze. I kind of want to. But after researching the fight, I just don't see how I can't. Like, if Roman Dolidze wins this fight, how does he win it? Like, is he going to be the first person to knock out Marvin Vettori? Is he going to be the first person to submit Marvin Vettori? Like, the thing with Roman Dolidze and why people like, I mean, he gets it done. He gets the win. I don't think he's the best fighter in the world. He's tough as nails. He has power. He has a great submission game, but he's so low volume. Like, his striking numbers are very concerning. Like, Roman Dolidze only lands 2.62 significant strikes per minute, so he throws nothing. Marvin Vettori is almost double that, 4.20. So on the feet, Marvin Vettori is going to be the much better striker with a lot more output. Roman Dolidze, he can wrestle a little bit. His takedown defense in his own right is not good, but that's because he wants to be on his back. I don't know, like, if Roman Dolidze wins this fight, like, how does he do it? I think it's going to have to be, like, some type of knockout. And Vettori, he's so tough. Vettori's never been knocked out. I don't even think Vettori's been knocked down. I'm not even sure Vettori's been hurt. Like, I remember he fought Paulo Costa. Costa landed, like, a flush head kick that would knock out a horse. And Vettori just smiled at him. So I want to pick Dolidze, but it just wouldn't make any sense for me to do that. Like, I can't really find a path to victory for him. So I'm going to go Vettori. The odds are weird. Like, I know a lot of people on Dolidze, but I thought I'd be able to get, Vettori at a much better price tag. But yeah, Vettori's going to be the better striker, more volume. He's going to be able to probably dictate where this fight takes place. If he wants to take down Dolidze, which don't know if I recommend that. He can, Dolidze, no takedown defense. And then as far as Dolidze taking down Marvin Vettori, I don't really see him doing that. So if this fight does take place on the feet, I think it's Dolidze going to get a knockout or he's going to lose a decision. So give me Marvin Vettori to win by decision, a fight that I will not be betting on more than likely, at least from a money line perspective. Maybe a prop will stick out. But give me Vettori for the win. I'll take Vettori to win by decision. All right, moving on. We got Casey O'Neill going against Jennifer Maia. We got Casey O'Neill, 25 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach, 9-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Jennifer Maia, 34 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach, 29-1, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Casey O'Neill is a decent-sized favorite. This is one of those, another closely lined fight on the card. Casey O'Neill is currently minus 165, and then Jennifer Maia is currently plus 140. So, not impressed with Casey O'Neill, really. And I was planning on potentially fading her down the road. She has taken a little bit of a layoff here. She had some injuries she was dealing with. And kind of a lackluster performance in her last fight against Roxanne Modafferi. Split decision. Probably shouldn't have been a split, but, split decision. One of the judges did score the fight for Roxy, so not good. But yeah, you take a look at her wins. Shanna Dobson, retired. Anthony Shevchenko, really bad. Laura Procopio, cut. And then Roxanne Modafferi, retired. So no good wins yet for Casey O'Neill. Her best win probably being either Roxy or Procopio was solid. But yeah, she's looked good. She's went out there. She's gotten a couple of TKOs. She's gotten a couple submissions. She submitted a black belt in Laura Procopio. That was nice. But yeah, I'm not extremely impressed with O'Neill, but in this matchup, stylistically, I do like her to win it, and here's why. I think Jennifer Maia can win this fight easy. I think she can win this fight so easy. Jennifer Maia, if you just go for takedowns, you can win this fight. But the problem with Jennifer Maia, she's an incredible black belt, incredible grappler, multiple submissions on her record. The problem with Jennifer Maia is she refuses to go for any takedowns. I think she has maybe 2 takedowns in the UFC. Like, the last time Jennifer Maia landed a takedown was that Manon Fiorot fight, which shocked me because she never goes for takedowns. But hey, she got a takedown in that fight, and then she also got a takedown against Valentina. So she's gotten 2 takedowns in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 UFC fights. So yeah, if Maia went for takedowns here, she wins the fight easy. But she won't. So if it's on the feet, Maia, she's a solid striker, but she's kind of low volume. Casey O'Neill's the opposite of low volume. She's going to throw a lot more. Casey O'Neill's output in the Roxanne Modafferi fight was impressive, to say the least. She landed 229 significant strikes. So yeah, if this fight takes place on the feet, Casey O'Neill's going to land more. She's going to do more. She's going to win the decision. And I can't trust Maia to go for takedowns. If I could trust Maia to go for takedowns, I would not only be picking her here, I would be betting her here, and betting her pretty big. But the fact of the matter is, Maia refuses to wrestle, and I hate her fight IQ. I really do. I think there's a lot of fights on her record where she probably could have won if she would just wouldn't have got the fight down to the mat, but she doesn't. She refuses to do that. So, I'm gonna take Casey O'Neill here to win by decision. Like I said, I know people really love Casey O'Neill. I'm not a big fan of her, but I do like her to win this matchup. All right, 3 fights left. 3 really good fights. We got Gunnar Nelson going against Bryan Barberena. We got Gunnar Nelson, 34 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 18-5-1, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Bryan Barberena, 33 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, 18-9, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. All right, Gunnar Nelson, massive favorite. Massive favorite. He opened up minus 300, currently minus 450. Bryan Barberena opened up plus 250, currently plus 350. And stylistically, it's a really good matchup for Gunnar Nelson. I just don't know if he can lay minus 450 on the guy. But, I mean, Bryan Barberena, the thing with Bryan Barberena has always been the takedown defense. It's atrocious, like very, very bad takedown defense Bryan Barberena has. Not only did he get submitted by RDA, which we can forgive him for that. We can absolutely forgive him for getting taken down and submitted by RDA. No shame in that. There is some serious shame, though, in getting taken down 5 times by Anthony Ivy. There is some serious shame in getting dropped by Jason Witt and getting taken down 8 times. There's some shame in that. And there's also some shame in getting taken down 4 times by Darian Weeks. And then Matt Brown, all of a sudden at 40 years old, remembered how to wrestle again and took him down 5 times. Like Matt Brown, prior to that Barberena fight, I mean, the last time he landed 5 takedowns was back in 2014 against Eric Silva. So yeah, Bryan Barberena's takedown defense is bad. It's horrible. He does do a good job at getting back up against like these lower level guys like a Jason Witt, like a Anthony Ivy, but Gunnar Nelson's a top-notch grappler, incredible grappler. Doesn't have the best wrestling in the world, but when he gets you down, you're probably staying down or you're probably getting submitted. Bryan Barberena, like I said, just got submitted in his last fight against RDA. Nothing wrong with that. He's been submitted prior to that before, but you do not want Gunnar Nelson on top of you, and Gunnar Nelson is going to be able to get on top of Bryan Barberena because Bryan Barberena has no resistance in terms of that takedown defense. So, I mean, it's a pretty easy fight to call, in my opinion. Gunnar Nelson is going to take this fight down to the mat. Bryan Barberena is going to do nothing about it, and then Gunnar Nelson's going to look for that submission at some point. I think he gets it, and I think it's probably early as well. So I'm going to take Gunnar Nelson, first-round sub. I think he's going to take him down. I think Barb's going to give his back, and I think Gunnar's going to choke him out. So give me a Gunnar Nelson first-round submission. All right, co-main event, Rafael Fiziev going against Justin Gaethje, and fight of the year contender. I mean, this fight is a fight I'm really looking forward to. Like, I'm looking forward to this fight more than I am the main event, which is crazy to say, but I'm really looking forward to this one. And it's a crime that this fight's not 5 rounds, and it's only 3, but probably don't even need the 3 rounds to begin with, so I think it'll be okay. Rafael Fiziev, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 71.5-inch reach, 12-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Justin Gaethje, 34 years old, 5'11", with a 70-inch reach, 23-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Rafael Fiziev is a pretty big favorite. Opened up minus 275, currently minus 225. Gaethje opened up plus 235, currently plus 190. I thought I'd be picking Gaethje here first look. I thought the odds might have been pretty disrespectful. Maybe they are a little bit, but man, Gaethje is one of my favorite fighters. How can he not be? The way this guy fights, the way his fights play out. I mean, Justin Gaethje's never been in a boring fight. 10 UFC fights for Justin Gaethje, 9 of them finishing inside the distance. The only one that did not finish was the Chandler fight, where it could have finished, and it could have finished several times. So how can you not be a fan of Justin Gaethje? It's just, man, Justin Gaethje has taken a ton of damage throughout his career. Getting into these just crazy wars is going to take a toll on you throughout the years. We see it time and time again. And Justin Gaethje has been in a lot of wars. Every fight with Justin Gaethje is a war. Every fight is. So he's now 34 years old. He's taken all that damage. And I don't know. I know in his last fight it was against Charles Oliveira, but he got hurt with like the very first thing that Charles landed. I know Charles is very dangerous, but I'm really starting to wonder if that damage is starting to catch up with Justin Gaethje. He was getting hurt with a lot of what Charles was landing in that fight, which is fine. Charles is a dangerous guy, but I don't know. He looked kind of off in that fight. He looked tired too. He was throwing without he was just putting 110% into all of his punches in that Charles Oliveira fight, and he looked tired like a couple minutes into that first round. Ended up getting club and sub there against Charles Oliveira. Again, no shame in that. But I don't know. I'm wondering if that damage is starting to catch up to Justin Gaethje a little bit. Typically a very tough guy, but he's been finishing all 4 of his losses. 2 by sub, and then 2 by knockout. And I think Rafael Fiziev is the younger guy here. He's the much better technical striker. Like, for Justin Gaethje to win this fight, I think he's going to have to make it dirty, make this a war. And I don't know. I don't know if he's going to have success doing that against Fiziev. Like, if he wants to go out there and point fight with Fiziev, he's going to get 30-27. So I think Justin Gaethje is going to have to go out there and with reckless abandon, right? And if he does that, I think he might be able to touch the chin of Fiziev. We have seen Fiziev knocked out in his only loss. But I don't know. I feel like this is Fiziev's time. I feel like Fiziev's going to win this fight. And not only win this fight, but win it in very dominant fashion. Fiziev's a guy that I think he could potentially fight for a title in the very near future. And I think he's, slowly getting closer and closer. And I think this is one step closer to potentially fighting for that title. And I think he does get past Justin Gaethje here. And what should be an all-out war for as long as it lasts. I think it's going to be a war from the jump, from the very start. These guys are going to go after it. And I just trust Fiziev more. Like, Fiziev's a guy that he had slowed down in the past, but he went 4 rounds in his last fight against RDA into the 5th, and then knocked out RDA, still looked fresh in that first round in a fight where RDA was trying to grapple him the whole time. So I think Fiziev's working on that cardio. I think he's even going to have the better cardio in this matchup potentially. So, yeah, I like Fiziev here. I like Fiziev by knockout. I think he's going to knock out Justin Gaethje at some point in this fight. It's going to be a war up until then, and Gaethje's going to have his moments. But I'm going to take Fiziev to knock out Justin Gaethje in the second round here. Cannot wait for this co-main event. My favorite fight on the card, even though the main event is next, and we'll talk about that. All right, main event here. Be sure to comment down your significant strikes. We can see who wins this significant strike contest this week. Comment down Kamaru Usman, Edwards, their combined strikes there. All right, Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards, 3. They're 1-1. We're going to see who wins the trilogy here. We got Usman, 35 years old, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach, 20-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Leon Edwards, 31 years old, 6'2" with a 74-inch reach, 20-3, and 4-0 in 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Kamaru Usman, believe it or not, opened up like -375, something crazy like that. He's currently -240. Edwards opened up a massive dog, currently +205. So money is coming in on Leon Edwards. So I remember being very high on Kamaru Usman in their second fight. And, Kamaru Usman obviously had a ton of success in that fight. He lost the first round, though. He lost it. Edwards was able to be the first person to take down Kamaru Usman. So Usman's takedown defense went from 100% to now like 97%, which is still ridiculous. But, shout out to Edwards, able to get him down. And so, yeah, Usman lost the first round, but he won the second round. He won the third round. He won the fourth round. He was on his way to winning the fifth. And then Edwards, with like less than a minute left, lands that head kick, right? We all saw it. Great win for Leon Edwards, but I remember in that moment thinking, man, next time these guys fight, I'm going to smash the Kamaru Usman money line. He was clearly on his way to winning the fight. Edwards lands a big shot, knocks him out. The live line at that moment was like something astronomical in favor of Kamaru Usman, like something crazy, like -15,000, like -20,000. Like he was a huge favorite going into that late fifth round. And then Edwards pulls off the big upset. Shout out to him. He landed a great shot and knocked out Kamaru Usman cold. But yeah, in the moment, I'm like, man, I can't wait for these guys to fight again. I'm going to smash the Usman money line. But this time around, I just have a weird feeling about this fight. A very weird feeling. And it's a fight I'm going to probably stay away from because of that weird feeling. I talked about it a little bit on my main event breakdown where Usman should be the minute winner, but there are some things that really scare me on the Usman side, and they're all points I see people bringing up, and they're all valid points. The first thing is the age of Kamaru Usman. 35 years old. He's turning 36 in a couple months. I think less than 2 months. I don't like that. He's been dealing with injuries throughout his career. Late in his career, has obviously problems with the knees. Everybody talks about the knees. I think he had like a wrist injury as well just recently. So the injuries scare me. Another reason that this fight scares me, Usman's making the travel over to London. I don't really like that. I don't like the fact that, Kamaru Usman just got knocked out. I don't like that as well. And I don't like the fact that, it's a good point. I see a lot of people bringing up the fact that the Edwards fight was at elevation. And I noticed that as well. Like in that fight, Edwards got tired quickly. Like in the second round, he looked tired. So if Edwards is able to, not be as tired as he was in Utah, maybe he can have a lot more success, maybe like he did in the first round. So that scares me. Another thing that scares me, we're in London. We're in London. So, man, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this fight. I think from a money line standpoint, it's dog or pass, just because I think there's a lot of things I don't like on the Usman side. But after watching the second fight, I can't pick against Usman here. I can't do it. Kamaru Usman was clearly the better fighter, clearly the minute winner. But like I said, there are a lot of things going against him in this matchup. So it's a tricky fight. It's a fight that I'm probably going to stay away from. I know people love betting the main event. Everybody's going to bet the main event, whether you like Usman. I see a lot of people very confident on Kamaru Usman, like laying the hammer, max betting him. And I also see people taking the dog shot on Edwards. From a betting perspective, I probably would be more so on the side of Edwards just because he's a big dog. But in terms of making a pick, a prediction, I got to go Usman by decision. I think he's going to be the minute winner. He's improved that striking. He's starting to throw with power. He can pressure for 5 hard rounds. He can wrestle for 5 hard rounds. He can push you against the cage for 5 hard rounds. And if Edwards does win this fight, I don't know. I think it might have to be like another knockout, submission. It's just really hard to see Edwards winning a decision, in my opinion. It's really hard to see Edwards winning 3 out of the 5 rounds, just because he's going to be, put on his back. He's going to be put against the cage. So I think if Edwards does win this fight, it's probably going to be by finish, and maybe it happens. Like Usman just got knocked out, but I got to go with the guy I think is going to win the minutes, the rounds, and I think that is going to be Kamaru Usman for a pick. Though from a betting perspective, I can't touch this one. I have a bad feeling about this one, like a bad feeling in the back of my head, like I should probably be going with Edwards, but after watching the second fight, I can't. I got to go with Kamaru Usman here by decision. But yeah, those are the picks. Not many dogs sticking out. I know people are going to yell at me in the comments. You picked only one dog. I mean, if you like dogs in this matchup, let me know who you're picking. I think Edwards is a valid dog. Dolidze is going to be a very popular dog. But outside of that, I mean, I think a lot of these favorites roll. We saw in the last card, 285, all but one favorite won. And that one dog that came through was Alexa Grasso. So these pay-per-view cards, a lot of favorites do come through. I think that's the case here. So yell at me all you want in the comments. I pick who I think is going to win the fight. And I just don't see a lot of dogs coming through. So, but anyway, should be a good card, a fun card. So yeah, on a nice 3-event winning streak, I have like 5 or 6 bets right now. It's not going to be like a massive 20-unit card for me. It's going to be a lightish card for me. Lots of big favorites, lots of favorites that I'm not extremely confident in. But there's some props that are sticking out. There's some violent spots that are sticking out. So definitely looking forward to making some money on this card. If you guys could, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It does go a long way. Last pay-per-view card, 285, the video, you guys killed the likes. I think we got like 700, which was the second most I ever got. So appreciate you guys for that. Do leave a like. It's free, and I do appreciate it a ton. And also subscribing. I do appreciate that as well. Trying to work my way up to 20K subs. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, my DMs are always open. I'll be getting out more content throughout the week, betting breakdown Saturday morning. Actually, I might do that Friday night because it is an early card. So that might be Friday night, live stream Friday, live stream Saturday. Just a lot going on, so make sure you do subscribe and hit the post notification bell so you don't miss out on all of the other content. Best of luck for UFC 286. Should be a fun card. Can't wait for it. And we'll talk to you guys very soon. See you later.